And so I felt really compelled to have one podcast just kind of going over the bigger picture of what's going on if you're stuck, if you're blocked, what's really going on. Welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. May you live your truth. Hi, Divine Loves. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dr. Erin Show. I want to come on the show today and talk to you a little bit about the patterns that I was seeing. We've had quite a few people call in to the show, and a lot of them had the exact same issue, which was I'm blocked, I'm stuck, I'm overwhelmed. We specifically would ask for people to have specific situations they would call in on the podcast. And what we're finding is people are saying the same thing over and over again. We did have some people call in with specific issues around, specific situations, but in general, it was the same thing over and over again. And so I felt really compelled to have one podcast just kind of going over the bigger picture of what's going on if you're stuck, if you're blocked, what's really going on. I did use the metaphor of a computer analogy at one point. I've used the analogy of many different things, but what we know, it all comes down to the identity. Everything that we're doing in the school, and as I do as a Doctor of Divinity and Master Spiritual Coach and, manifesting expert and things like that, is we're really looking at the deeper soul level that's projecting out into this lifetime. So I want to actually kind of talk to you about a few things. So I have a few questions for you to begin with. And there's kind of, I want you to think about three circles, okay? Now I want you to imagine that in the first circle, you feel blocked, like you literally feel like you should be doing something like, say, you probably shouldn't be reaching for that junk food, but you eat it anyway. It's like a self-sabotage, right? Or that, you just keep doing the same pattern over again and you can't change it, right? There's that kind of a stuck pattern, okay? When we get to this part of it, we're talking about the subconscious, okay? We're dealing with the real energetic blocks, limited beliefs, and kind of like an automated system that has some bad programming. And think about the computer with bad programming, okay? No matter how great you are, if you have a bad computer with bad programming, it's just not going to work very well, okay? So that can have people definitely feeling stuck, okay? The second circle, what I want you to think about is kind of like it's really your environment. One thing I noticed is once I was doing my deep inner work for years, then I thought I should be not get triggered. I should not be upset about anything because I've done my inner work, right? And it's like, why is that not the case? Because I kept putting myself in situations that I wasn't in alignment. For example, trying to do things in business that really wasn't my genius or things I just didn't love, okay? Or being in relationships with people that our core values were not in alignment, right? So I kept banging my head against the wall, thinking, what's wrong with me? Why do I not feel, like I feel good in here? I feel stuck. What's wrong with me, right? And that's kind of part of the problem with a lot of the inner work is that we think if we shift inside, everything's miraculously going to happen on the external world. And that's true. But a lot of it is that we have to choose our environment. So the second circle is really what we do in the school, which is doing more of the life coaching. Okay. The first circle, the subconscious work, is all the E4 work. It's all the deep regression work. It's all that neutralizing of traumas and all the mental pictures of getting the subconscious mind really cleared out. Okay. The second circle is really about we create what's called your life's manual and being able to get into things like understanding what works for you is unique for you. Where you're going to thrive in a relationship is going to be different than what your friend thrives in a relationship, right? That's called a relative truth. There's ultimate truth in the universe and there's relative truths. So when these callers would call in and they're like, why do I not feel motivated? Why do I not feel whatever? I just feel stuck. I feel overwhelmed, or I feel like everything's just so heavy. And a lot of it is probably because what they are doing is probably not in alignment with what their heart desires for them to do anymore. Okay. So, that second circle is really about birthing your truth. And that changes over time. What you desired and what your truth was 10 years ago is going to evolve just as your consciousness evolves. Okay. So if you want to get unstuck, you have to realign to your heart all points in time, realign to your core values. And sometimes you have to let things go, let situations and even let some relationships go at some points in time. Okay. So the third circle, again, what we're talking about is being stuck. being blocked. What is it that what are we working through here, right? Okay. The third circle is what I would consider mastering energy, manifestation. Okay. The science of manifestation. And you guys know I teach, universal spiritual law, universal law. Okay. And universal law, the best way to describe it is I use the metaphor of a car. Okay. So imagine that you have a car and you don't even know how to use it. You kick in the tires, you get into the car, you learn how to go forward, but you never learn how to go reverse or right or left, and you hit a wall, okay? Well, you got to learn how to also reverse or turn right or turn left. And that's universal law. It's understanding how to master energy. There's no way we can only be positive all the time. It's called spiritual bypassing, right? So you have to master universal law. We do this through, of course, learning all the distinctions of universal law, learning how to coach through manifestation and understanding really manifestation is not about getting a bunch of stuff. It's really about becoming the consciousness, the mental equivalent, the vibrational match of what you want. So, when someone calls and they're stuck, they're overwhelmed, we have to first realize that a lot of reasons why we're feeling stuck and blocked, it's because sometimes we are actually going after and trying to have goals or manifesting things that actually don't even actually speak to our heart. We were told that, having enough money would make us feel safe, that if we got a big enough a career or status that we would be worthy, right? We're told that if we just find that right relationship, then it's all going to work out, right? Then we have enough money, then it'll all work out. When we get to that right city, then it'll work out. When we have a big enough car and a big enough house, then someday we'll be happy, right? So a lot of times when people are calling in and they're talking about these things, it's a lot to unpack. Obviously, you can't just do it in a little call. And that's why we say bring a specific question. When someone brings everything is overwhelming, everything I'm feeling stuck, it's nearly impossible to really just break through that in one session. But we do it, right? We do it and we always have some kind of new declaration. We always do that. But I want you guys as the callers, you guys as the viewers, you whatever, I want you to really get this, okay? I've actually put together a presentation on this. We're putting together a quiz that's going to assess your blocks and see which of these three categories are really holding you back, and do some workshops on this, okay? So again, I want to just recap on this. So if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you're in the same negative cycles over and over again, and it feels like I've taken enough courses, I've read enough books, I've been meditating. Why do something's missing, right? It's because in general, the first circle is the biggest thing. What I hear over and over again is people said, I did my trauma work, but really what they did is they did trauma informed work. They didn't actually neutralize the trauma incident in the subconscious mind. That's what we do in E4 and regression work. So the first block you want to think about, is it just subconscious blocks that are holding you back and you have no idea why, okay? The second circle is, are you putting yourself in environments, relationships, and circumstances that don't feel aligned? They don't light up your heart, or rather they even take energy from you, okay? So that's kind of that second circle, okay? Remember, in the second circle, we really help people get clear of their core values. We help them do their life's manual, their life purpose statement, their soul's purpose formula. We get really clear on who you are, where you thrive, what your core values are, and helping you get boundaries so that you actually take responsibility around your energetics, okay? Now, the third is really the fine tuning of the mastery. You have to know universal law. So it's not like you're doing one of these circles and the next. You're doing all these at the same time. Universal law is really like the education. It's the wisdom of the universe. It's the axioms and law of the way that we manifest. It's the mechanics of life. So it's the universal law, right? Universal spiritual law of life. It's how we direct energy. So again, you can do all your trauma work, you can put yourself in the right environment, but if you're not directing your consciousness on what you do want to create, instead of directing it and focusing on what you don't want, then it's not going to work out also. Okay, so you have to learn the mechanics of driving this thing called you and the energy and your consciousness, okay? So for the first time ever, I'm fully rolling out my whole system. It's called the 3-step manifestation and self-mastery system. And this is the same system that I have used across the globe, who have trained over 10,000 soul-based practitioners, coaches, and entrepreneurs. I have had clients who are A-plus celebrities, top CEOs, and of course, on myself, coming from being a single mom who's completely bankrupt spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to someone who is a world leader now, okay? So this system is a system that works. This has not just been, a couple years in the making. This has been 15 years of proven results with clients, and I've been on the journey for 30 years, okay? So I really want to share this system with you so that you know exactly what it's going to take to get unstuck, unblock, and really heal your past, empower your present, and manifest your future self. So if you're someone who is ready to go deeper, you've done a lot of manifestation work, but something is not totally clicking, you know that you're ready to go and do the deeper inner work to really know thyself. Manifestation, most people think it's about attracting money, relationship, status, whatever it is. That's not true manifestation. Manifestation is you. You're the manifestation. So you can have all these things and still be miserable. Okay. Most people are. The truth is, the manifestation is you to be so connected to your higher self, for you to be so connected to God's source within that you literally are completely fulfilled right here and now. And in that, it flows over so much so that it's natural and a side effect of having love and abundance and all the riches of the world. But without God's source within, you can never fully have the riches of the world. We never can get anything from the world. We get everything from divine source within, and then we give everything to the world, and we project and reflect that abundance, that prosperity, the richness of the true divine within. So I will be rolling this out shortly. We will be having an assessment for you to be able to really assess what out of those three categories you're really struggling, that's really holding you back the most. I will be doing a workshop and masterclass on this as well. And this is the core framework that whether you're coming into the self-mastery aspect for your self-coaching, for you to really be able to master your life, awaken, and truly be able to coach yourself through anything, or whether you're coming into the accredited certification, this is the core framework that really is the framework that has put me into the Walden Wisdom Award next to Oprah Winfrey, Greg Braden, and Michael Bernard Beckwith. And that is really what transforms the lives that come through our school. I'm just sending you guys so much love. I send so much gratitude to everyone that's called in on the show. And I have compassion knowing I have been there. I know what it's like. And I get there still. And then I have to transform again, just like everyone. We have to keep doing the work. We have to keep having our daily spiritual practice. We have to keep understanding the subconscious mind and being in alignment with our relative truth, and also always directing the energetics through the universal spiritual law. Have a beautiful, blessed day, you guys. You can grab all the links below, and just sending you so much love. May you live the truth.